So if we start thinking about how do we give identity and belonging in society, right? As we've already alluded to and discussed, right? This involves treating people with dignity and respect, right? So, I'll give you an example of something about how things can maybe like go wrong or what something else like that, right? So, for those of you who've had the unfortunate pleasure or displeasure, depending how you looked at it, right, to be pulled over by police, right? And then you're sitting up in your car here, and I'm tall, I have like these long legs, so this is disproportionate. I'm in my car, right? And have this police officer pull me over, right? And I've been pulled over before. Well, when was the last time I was pulled over? I think at the timing of this video, the last time I was pulled over for any reason was like 4 years ago. I think that's right. 4 or 5 years ago? How long has it been? 4 years. It's been a little over 4 years. It's been a while for me. And in this particular action, right, this officer comes in, and he's like, I don't even think he's like, hey, hello. He's like, all this dude comes in, is just like, I got you for speed. And I was like, what? Because it was a situation where school zones work differently in Texas. Where so in California, it was really like hard for me to understand because here in California, like school zones are in effect when students are present. Period. Right? And it was very confusing from Texas because school zones have a time window. Right? So the school limit speed zone, even if no kids are present, will be from say 7:30 a.m. to 8:45 p.m. Also from 2:45 p.m. to 4:15, right? And it's never consistent, right? It is not consistent at all. So you really have to pay attention to these signs because it changes from area to area and on street to street and so on, right? So it's very confusing, right? And you have to look for the sign because if you don't, you could be violating it, right? So there's this issue of speed that I got pulled over for. This was the day that I had just put my grandfather or I helped put it. I did not put him in. It was with family members into a nursing home, and I didn't know the area. Make this turn in my grandmother's car because she doesn't want to drive. She drives this red Cadillac. I'm going what seems to be the speed limit that I saw, which is 45, right? And when I made this turn, right, so I came in here and I made this left turn, right. I looked this up on Google Maps later. That's why I know this, but here I'm in this left lane, right. And there's a sign right here, but when I'm making this turn, I don't see this sign, and you don't see it again because there is no other sign until way at the other end of the light, right? There is no reminder sign. You go half a mile or something without seeing another sign, but apparently that's part of the school zone, right? These school zones are also gigantic, right? Why? Because they want the money. So anyway, I get pulled over for this speed, and I'm like, what? What are you talking about? Because you're keeping pace with traffic, but of course I'm in this red kind of sports car because my grandmother drove that one anyway, right? He's like, got you for speed. I was like, okay. There was no hi, hello. It was just license, registration. I was like, speed for what? You're in a school zone. And then, it was oh, where's this sign? He's like, it was back there. And that's it. It's show up. Right. I mean, it was very abrupt. And I was oh, I'm sorry. I was just dropping off my grandfather at his nursing home. Didn't see the sign, not new with the area. Yep. Bye. I mean, very quick brusque. I mean, that was maybe the quickest, interaction I've ever had with a police officer. Quickest interaction for a ticket. I did get ticketed. that I've ever had. And, typical, if I imagine you to like typical cop wear, right? Buzz cut, super, like the mirror shade so you can't see their face, and like, I don't know. I mean, it's just like, it was one of those things that obviously I was like a little keyed up from the day, but also I was like, dude, like, what the hell? Like, I mean, it was just like, I couldn't answer, I couldn't speak. This officer didn't want to hear anything from me. He was just like, yep, yep, no, 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 boop, easy ticket. Like that was my impression of how he felt like, right? It was like, wow, this guy, because I remember he made like this U-turn like into traffic to come get me, and like I was almost out of the zone when he like pulls me over. I mean, it was really, honestly, it's kind of, I still think about that ticket. I paid it. Oh, I paid for the like, driver's course or something like that. And, I'm still irked about it, in case you can't tell. Because I was just like, what the fuck is this guy's problem? So, but it felt really like kind of, unfair, right? I thought this cop was like BS, and I was just like, man, you're such a jackass, right? I didn't feel good about the interaction at all, right? I mean, it just felt like, I felt really, stupid. I was like, this cop is an idiot. Like, I didn't feel like I understood anything in this particular, instance, right? So the thing is, right, I mean, to some degree, right, we know a couple things, right? No one wants to be pulled over. It's not fun. It's not great. It's kind of a hassle, right? And depending on what people's views, right, people like, they riffle through their glove compartment. If you're a cop, you don't know if someone's getting a weapon or someone getting stuff. Usually I like to wait until I'm directed to do something. And people, can become very hostile. Oh, you're going to pull me over? You're going to give me a ticket? Oh, that's all you do, right? You just try to do this, right? Like, you can have very hostile, you can have hostile drivers and also hostile police, right, too. This guy also, when I think about him, like, I feel like he was one of those people that was like, make my day, do something, say something. I was just like, God, you're such a jerk. So anyway, so with this like hostile police kind of thing, right? This is an example of a negative reaction or a negative interaction, right? I wasn't feeling too hot about the Keller PD or this officer in particular, right? Now, I mean, like, I should maybe only think of like this individual officer, right? But my mind goes to Keller PD in Keller, Texas, right? Not, that officer was, right? And the thing is, right, if I know I'm doing that, there are almost certainly other people who are also thinking, oh, Keller PD are bad, or, they employ people like this. This creates a problem, right? Now, you can also imagine, right, if I have this inherent distrust, or let's say that I have a past history or I know of people, right? So let's say that I have a experiential experience with police or a vicarious experience where, so live through other people I know, experience of bad police. I'm less likely to be nice in my interactions, right? I'm less likely not going to control my reactions. And sometimes, right, this can lead to an escalation that of emotions, an escalation possibly physically, an escalation in what an officer feels is necessary in a situation. So let's say instead of just giving me a ticket, decided to give me a ticket for something else, or want to pull me out of the car and search me or something like that. Who knows, right? So, like all these things, right? Like when we have police power to do, right? We are sort of like compelled to do it, right? Because we believe the police have legitimacy, but when that legitimacy is threatened, it can be not so hot. So how do we go about this then, right? Because to some degree, right, maybe the officer believes that he has to be, kind of like forceful, intimidating to get people to comply, and that's certainly a strategy, right? You can go through and you can try to control people through force like that, right? And you may not necessarily, when you're like, oh, I'm going to give this ticket, I want to get in and out, I don't want to argue about it. That is something you could do, right? Whether that's good or not is a different question, and maybe depends on what your goals are, right? But that is a strategy. So procedural justice then feels like in this kind of case, right? We know that police have like this history of if we think about like what has been said about some police mentality, in many cases, again, this is not to say everyone, right? But in many cases, there is very much an us versus them mentality. And you are known that you have tremendous power and you kind of have this autonomy over people. And you can kind of do whatever you want, right? And that, you can use your discretion. If you get in trouble, right, you probably know your buddies are going to back you up. And there's really nothing the public can do. So for some people, right, this can lead to a very antagonistic, negative kind of interaction with the public when you have this power over someone and you demonstrate that you are not afraid to use it, right? So in this case then, what exactly do we want people to do then, right? Because we want to get people to get maybe less hostile, right? And if we want them, instead of controlling themselves, right, what we kind of really ultimately want to do then as a goal of procedural justice is that we want people to accept the decisions of officers. So if I give you a ticket, or if I decide that I want to search you, or if I feel like I need to get handcuffs on you, I want you to accept it, right? So I want you to comply with my authority, right? Because it makes things a lot easier if, we both sort of get along together on this. Doesn't mean that you like it, and that part is very clear. It doesn't mean you like what's happening, right? But you can accept what's happening. Also, maybe to set another goal then of I guess we should put this goal of procedural justice is that if we have this goal, right, and this is something we want to have people self-regulate, so they keep themselves in control and are willing to go along and do anything like that, right? And we want to give the police more control over the interactions because of this. So police are more controlling, and because everyone's behaving, right? And so with this then, we, kind of accept then, right, is that we want police and underneath procedural justice, right, to show people dignity and respect. We want to also believe, right, because police really are, of the people and they are employed by them, right? And since they're using force, right, we want people, or at least give the impression that police are neutral and unbiased in their decision making. We don't want to feel targeted or stopped unfairly for any particular reason, right? We want them to do that. We also want to feel like citizens or the public are involved in the process. So if you are harassing me by pulling me over, I feel like I should be able to participate. I should be able to speak. And I want you to listen to me from my perspective, right? To show that you care what I have to say, right? And also want to believe that these issues are of genuine concern and not something that is contrived, right? And this is hopefully to get people to comply with my decisions if I'm an officer, to get people to cooperate with me if I want to fight and solve crimes. That could be more of a long-term goal, but they're, also to feel empowered, in the process, that they have a role in that. All right, so we'll pause there and we'll consider this, pick this